Hello and welcome to another video. Today we'll be using geometry nodes in Blender to create this metal fence. So this can be created into any of the shape that is required according to the scene. This particular fence built for a game, but the aim is to learn geometry nodes and get a familiarity with uh, some of the nodes that will be used in building this. So let's start. Okay, we're gonna use the edges for the path on which the fence will be built on. So let's delete everything and add a single vertex. Enable the snapping to grid. And now if you extrude this, you can now build a path, something like this. Let's go out to the object mode and drag this area up to open your geometry nodes. Let's create a new geometry node modifier. I'm going to add a join geometry node to join all the components of the mesh together. And let's start by creating the main poles. So those will be made by cylinders. Let's add a new cylinders. And I want to delete the top and bottom polygon. I don't need the bottom one, and I'm going to use a half sphere to cap the top one. Now the origin point of the this cylinder is in the center, which is not visible. I want it to be right about here, and I can just move it up so that the bottom part is exactly where the grid is or where the floor is. So I can do that by using set position. But before that, let's reduce the radius. Set it to 0.08. That looks good enough. And you can see that if I increase Z, it's going to go up. So by what amount? This is determined by the depth. So if it's like 6.3 or 6, this is going to be 3. So we need to move the half of the length of the cylinder. So I can use a value. Let's set it to 6. Use this for the depth. And I want the half to go to the set position. So this is now currently going this 6 to the Z position, but I need it to be half. So let's add a math node. And let's divide this by 2. And this is now set on the floor, which is what you want. Now for the top part, I want to add a sphere. Let's reduce the vertices a bit. We don't need this much detail. Let's stick with 8. Okay, add a sphere. Match the number of segments. And let's keep the rings at 8 as well. Radius is going to be the same as that of the cylinder, which is 0.08. Now we want to delete the bottom half of the sphere uh, so that we can like stitch it middle on top of the cylinder. Let's use a delete geometry node. But this is going to delete all of the sphere, so change it to face, and we need to provide it a selection. Okay, let's use a compare node for that. Plug in the result, and I want to set it to 0.01. And for B, we need to provide a position of the objects. So use a position node, and let's separate the X, Y, Z. And plug in the Z to B. Now, as you can see, we can delete the geometry as you want. So we want to delete half of the sphere, which is like this. We need to move this sphere up at the top of the cylinder, for which you can do is we can do a set position node, just like we did with this one. And in fact, we can use it to add a new set position node, and we can see and as you can see, we can control the position with Z, just like so. Let's join these together. But this is not at the top of the cylinder, so let's move it up like here, and this is exactly 6 meters, which we know that we are feeding it from here. So let's add this to here. So it's right at the top. Add a mesh boolean. And this welds the two components together. Since we are using a mesh boolean, we don't need the join geometry node. And we now have to create these cylinders on different sections of the segments. So let's do that. For that, we have to convert this mesh edge to a curve. and we're gonna resample it, create a length resampling, and let's set the length to about 3. So it's gonna resample the curve and create additional segments along the whole length. And once we have that, we can now convert it back to a mesh. Once we have that, we can now use this to instance our cylinders on top of all the new resampled vertices. So for that, we can do a instance to point. And for instance, I'm going to use the cylinder. And for points, I'm going to use my curve. And here you go. This is looking good. Let's now move to creating the inner mesh structure. For inner structure, I'm going to use I'm going to use the same edges, but I'm going to duplicate those and rescale them. So add a duplicate element. Now I want to add, I want to duplicate the edges. Let's set a position. And let's split the edges. Scale these. Scale them by like 0.8. So all the edges, they were split and then rescaled. These edges, we're going to use them multiple times, once for the bottom of the mesh, once for the top, and once for creating the left and right edges. So first let's create the bottom edge. We have to convert it to a curve again, so that we can use a profile, particularly a circle, to create the cylindrical shape. It's going to be clear in a minute. So this cylindrical shape is made like so. This is going to be the bottom part of the inner mesh. Let's reduce the vertices to 5. and radius to 0.02. Let's now duplicate this to the top edge. Let's create a duplicate of this and set the position. So duplicating this bottom edge to the top and then setting the position to 3. This is going to give us another edge on top. We need to create a edge over here. So it's a square shape, and inside is going to be have a mesh. Select an edge, go to, okay, let's adjust the position now. And want to instantiate this on all the points. So let's add a instance on points node. And I want to have a cylinder, so let's add one. Rather, let's duplicate one from here. And add it to the geometry. Let's set the radius to 0.03. And depth to, let's do 3 for now. Adjust the position. This needs to be a bit larger to cover up that extra minor space. Let's do that. That looks about right. No, it doesn't. So let's adjust it again. That looks about right. Now let's add the interface. This is going to have the actual texture of the mesh. The bottom edge of the inner section, and I'm going to extrude that edge upwards up to the upper edge, so that will create our face. So this scale element, no, this has that bottom edge, so let's use this. Add an extrude mesh node. So we need to provide an offset to this extruded edge. Let's do that. Create a combine. So if we like increase that, let's preview this. or rather let's merge it with the other geometry. And here you have an extruded edge that goes up to the top of the mesh. Okay, let's now create the hinges that go between the main pole and the middle bevel. These cylinders have a open caps. Let's add the caps to these. For the hinges, we're gonna use these split edges. Let's scale these again. This is going to be edges uniform, and let's put the scale to 0.93. Add a set position node, and let's do a 1 meter z axis. Let's convert it to a curve again. And we're gonna instance some boxes on all the points. Now the rotation for these boxes, these need to align to the tangent or to the curve direction. So to do that, we need to provide a rotation here, and that rotation comes from the curve tangent. We need to align that as we are as per our needs. So add a align rotation to vector node, and for the rotation under the vector input, let's add a curve tangent. And this gives them a bit of a rotation, but this needs to be adjusted. I want it to align to X, and for the rotation I'm gonna provide a rotation through the rotate instances node, and let's add a 90 degrees to the Z. Now, these perfectly align with the rotation of the curve. And if I now add it to the total geometry, we have these hinges for unit structure. This is a single hinge for each side. I need to have two. So let's duplicate these. And set the position to this as well. And I need to set the position for the initial one. And there you go. Next we are gonna put some metallic materials on the model. Let's go into the material tabs, and let's create two materials. One I'm going to call metal, and the second one is the wire mesh. For the metal, I'm going to increase the metallic, and let's do it here, and let's keep other things as they are. Set materials node, uh, metal, and for the extruded edges, that will have the wire mesh. Let's do a material for that as well. Select a wire material. Now there are some like jagged edges. We can do a smooth. And let's do a merge by distance to merge any overlapping vertices, which will clean up the mesh a bit. We need to separate the two parts so that we can apply a different material to each. I'm going to move this one to over here, and I'm going to add another geometry node after this. The mesh face that is going to go after I apply the metallic material. So this is much better. So metal goes on all the components that are supposed to be metallic, and for the wire mesh, I'm going to build a separate material for that. Let's move into the shader editor. And the second one is the wire material. Let's add some textures. I'm gonna put a link in the description for the textures I've used. You can use those as well, and otherwise use whatever you like. For the base color, let's add images. Let's add image texture node. One for base color, the other one for the opacity, and the other one for the normal. And add in your images. Plug them in. And we need to provide it mapping. So if you have Node Wrangler installed, press Ctrl T. And for the but as you can see that the texture isn't appearing properly in the viewport. So the thing we are missing is we need to output some UVs from the model. And for that, let's go back to our node editor. Add a capture attribute node after we set the smoothing. I'm gonna need the UVs, and those are stored in the face corner data. Add a UV unwrap. Add it to the empty slot. Add this to the group output. Keep the defaults for the UV unwrap node, and go into the modifiers and name the output attributes, and let's name this fans UVs. And if you go back to the shaded editor, and you need to replace texture coordinates with the attribute node. Plug the vector data in the vector port and write the name of the attribute. We have these now. Let's scale the texture. Add the missing link for the opacity, and do the same for normal. And here you go. And that is it. So I'm gonna provide the finished file as well. That's gonna be in description. So download it, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. See you in the next one. Bye.